When a woman takes your P3N1S in her mouth, it means more than just a physical act. It's not just about lust or some kind of pornographic mimicry of what society has normalized. No, this is about something far deeper, far more primal, and incredibly intimate. See, a lot of men misunderstand what this truly represents. They think it's a win, a conquest, a sign of submission. They've earned by default. But the truth is, it's a privilege, a gift. One that, when done willingly and without pressure, signals an immense level of trust. Think about it. She's allowing you into one of the most vulnerable parts of her being, and she's doing it with no barrier, no shield, no mask. That's not just about pleasure, that's about safety. She feels safe enough with you to go there, safe enough to let you experience her in a way that involves not only physical closeness, but emotional exposure too. That action requires her to lower her guard. And no woman does that without reason. Because let's be real, most women don't just do this for any man. It's not automatic. It's not mechanical. It's chosen. And what it often means is that you, as her man, have created an environment where she feels like she can let go, where she doesn't feel judged, where her body isn't something she's offering under duress or expectation, but with genuine desire and freedom. You want to know what it really means when a woman gets to that point with you? It means she sees you as someone who understands her emotional language. It means she believes you're not going to weaponize her vulnerability, that you won't ridicule her for her sexuality, shame her for being expressive, or reduce her to an act. She trusts that your ego won't inflate at her expense, that you won't turn around and treat her like she's less than for doing what she only felt safe enough to do because of how you made her feel. That's deep. That's powerful. That's a level of intimacy that many men bypass because they're too focused on the surface, on the act, and not on what it represents underneath. And let's not get it twisted. Women can sense when you're present. They know when you're emotionally invested and when you're just ticking boxes or collecting moments. If she's offering you this moment of intimacy and you're not there with her, if your attention is scattered, your intentions are selfish, or your energy is disconnected, she will feel that, and it will take something away from her, maybe not immediately, but slowly over time. So when a woman chooses to do this with you, what she's saying isn't just, I want to please you. She's saying, I trust you with my body. I trust you with my breath. I trust you with the parts of me that are often silenced, judged, or misunderstood. And in a world that constantly tells women to shrink, to be careful, to hide their desire, that's no small thing. That is a powerful expression of emotional connection. Now, here's what most men miss. That moment is not about dominance, it's about reciprocity. It's a dance, an exchange. She's not just giving, she's responding to how you speak to her, how you hold space for her emotions, how you see her when she isn't dressed up, when she's tired, when she's struggling. If you've made her feel secure, seen, and emotionally nourished, then when she takes you into her mouth, it's not just physical, it's spiritual. But here's the challenge. Are you even aware of what you're receiving when that happens? Or are you just thinking, yeah, I earned this? Because if you're in that latter mindset, you haven't even begun to understand what's happening. You've reduced a moment of deep vulnerability to a trophy. And that disconnect, that lack of awareness, is what separates real masculine energy from boys pretending to be men. See, a real man recognizes what's being offered in that moment. He doesn't just take he honors it. He's present. He's responsive. He sees her, not just her body. Because that kind of woman, the kind who opens herself that fully, isn't doing it for every man. She's doing it for the one who makes her feel safe enough to be soft. So don't just look at the act. Look at what made her choose you for that act. What foundation did you build? What emotional security did you give her? What space did you create that made her feel like she could express herself without shame? If a woman takes your P3N1S in her mouth and you understand what that actually means, you'll never see it as just anything again. It's not just sex. It's not just a good time. It's a mirror. And the reflection you see is based on how you've made her feel. There's a certain power in what happens behind closed doors that goes way beyond the physical And when a woman takes your P3N1S in her mouth, it's not just a sexual act. It's often a signal, sometimes even a symbol, of where the power sits in your dynamic. Not in a negative or toxic way, but in a natural dance of masculine and feminine energy. And that moment, that act, it can be the most revealing display of emotional chemistry between two people. You see, we live in a world that constantly tells men that dominance is everything, that being the alpha means you're always in control, that you're the one running the show. But the truth is, true power doesn't come from force. It comes from how someone chooses to respond to you without you demanding it. That's real influence. So when a woman voluntarily places herself in a position of submission, not just physically, but emotionally, it tells you everything you need to know about how she views you. Now, submission doesn't mean weakness, and it certainly doesn't mean she's beneath you. In fact, it often takes incredible strength and emotional intelligence for a woman to let go, to surrender, and to trust you enough to enter into that space. Because she's not giving in because she has to, she's doing it because she wants to, and that changes the meaning entirely. That kind of act doesn't come from fear or obligation. It comes from admiration, respect, and a deep sense of safety. But here's the part most men overlook. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you lead, not just in the bedroom but outside of it, determines how she shows up in that moment. If you walk around trying to control her, dominate her, disrespect her, or break her spirit, she won't submit to you. She'll resist you. She may go through the motions, but it will be empty, detached. Because she doesn't feel seen. She doesn't feel protected. She doesn't feel honored. True submission is born out of love and emotional grounding. When she gives you that part of herself, she's letting go of control because she believes you know how to handle it. That's sacred. That's powerful. That's something most men never even get close to because they're too busy chasing control instead of creating connection. And let me be clear, the act of a woman taking you in her mouth is not about you being dominant over her. It's about her feeling so aligned with your presence, your energy, and your emotional leadership that she wants to give to you. There's a difference between someone doing something to please you because they fear losing you and someone doing something because they feel safe in your arms. One comes from survival, the other from surrender. When she kneels before you, it's not just about where her body is, it's about where her heart is. She's not down there to feed your ego. She's down there because she sees you as a man worthy of her trust. That's not something you can buy. It's not something you can manipulate. It's something you earn. You earn it through consistency, through how you handle her emotions, through how you react when she's vulnerable, raw, unfiltered. And it's in that moment, when she gives herself fully to you, that the real power dynamic plays out. Not in some twisted way, but in a natural balance where the masculine leads and the feminine willingly follows, not because she has to, but because you've proven that your leadership is grounded in love, not ego, in protection, not control. There's something almost primal about it. It goes back to ancient instincts, who we are at our core. And when she lowers herself like that, it's her way of saying, I trust you with me. I trust you with this moment. I trust that you'll handle my vulnerability with care. It's not weakness, it's strength wrapped in softness. And if you, as a man, can't see that, can't feel that, then you're not ready for that kind of connection. Because what that moment really means is that she sees something in you that allows her to let go. She's not submitting to a man who demands control. She's offering herself to a man who commands respect through his presence, his stability, and his emotional awareness. And if you're truly the kind of man who understands what it means when a woman gives you that kind of moment, you'll realize that the real power isn't in what you take, it's in how you receive it. When a woman takes your P3N1S in her mouth, a lot of men think it's about them, about being pleased, being served, being dominant. But here's something most men never stop to consider. Sometimes it's not even about you at all. Sometimes it's about her expression, her power, her emotional language. That act can be her way of speaking to you without words, a message that's far more layered, far more intentional than you've probably ever realized. See, when it's done with presence, when it's genuine, it becomes more than an act of pleasure. It becomes communication. It's her way of telling you something her mouth might not say in everyday conversation. Her way of exploring a side of herself that isn't always safe to show in this world. Because women live in a world that often makes them feel like they need to hide their desire, be modest, be controlled, be pleasing in the most superficial way, but never too raw, never too primal. But that moment when she goes down on you, not from pressure, not from expectation, but from desire, that's her flipping that narrative. That's her reclaiming her sensuality on her terms. She might be the one kneeling, but in a very real way, she's the one in control. She's the one choosing the pace, the pressure, the rhythm. She's the one reading you, your breath, your reactions, your sounds. And she's orchestrating a moment where her body speaks, loud and clear. Too many men miss this. They're so focused on what she's doing for me, they forget to ask, what is she saying through this? Because a woman doesn't just express herself in words. She speaks in how she touches you, how she looks at you, how she opens herself to you, mentally, emotionally, and yes, sexually. So when she does something that intimate, that personal, it's not a service. It's a statement. And if you're really in tune, you'll start to notice that her behavior in those moments often mirrors what's going on emotionally between you two. If she's fully present, fully into it, fully surrendered, it's because she feels seen, heard, respected, free. But if she's mechanical, if she's disconnected, if it feels like she's just getting it over with, that's not about her being lazy or uninterested. That's feedback. That's her telling you, without ever speaking, that something is off. Maybe she doesn't feel emotionally safe. Maybe she doesn't feel desired outside of the bedroom. Maybe she doesn't feel like her needs are being met. And so that act, instead of being a moment of connection, becomes a performance, a duty, a transaction. The irony is, men who chase this act for their own gratification rarely get the version of it they actually want. The passion, the eye contact, the wildness, that only shows up when a woman feels free, when she feels like she can be her full self without judgment. And you don't get that by demanding it. You get that by being the kind of man she can relax around. The kind of man who listens when she speaks, and even more importantly, listens when she does. Because a lot of women aren't going to say it outright. They're not going to explain to you how to make them feel emotionally safe. They're not going to lay out a step-by-step guide on how to bring out their most expressive self. They'll just show you, if you're paying attention, through their body, through their energy, through these exact moments. So if she's taking that step with you, and she's doing it with intention, it might be her way of exploring her own fantasies, her own control, her own power. And when a man is emotionally intelligent enough to see that, not feel threatened by it, not try to dominate it, but truly honor it, that's when the dynamic shifts from basic to unforgettable. That's when the connection deepens. That's when the intimacy becomes unshakable. Because now it's not just about two bodies. It's about two people speaking to each other in the most primal, unfiltered, beautiful way. It's about her saying, this is who I am. I'm not just here to be good. I'm here to be free. And in that moment, if you're truly present, you'll realize that what she's giving you isn't just pleasure. It's trust. It's communication. It's her asking you, without words, can you hold space for this part of me too? And your answer to that question will define the kind of man you are. When a woman takes your P3N1S in her mouth, it's easy to assume she's doing it just to please you. But when you really understand women, when you see women, you start to realize that act can actually be one of the most confident, bold, and emotionally transparent things she can do. It's not just about arousing you. It's a reflection of how she feels within herself, how safe she feels, how empowered she feels, how free she feels in your presence. And none of that happens by accident. A woman who feels confident in her body, who feels emotionally and sexually secure, she shows up differently. She doesn't perform out of obligation. She expresses from a place of desire. She moves in alignment with her authentic self, not some version of her that's been tamed by fear, shame, or past experiences with emotionally unavailable men. That level of freedom is a direct reflection of what you, as her man, bring into her world. You see, confidence doesn't just bloom in isolation, it grows in the soil of emotional safety. If she feels judged, she'll hesitate. If she feels ignored, she'll shut down. But if she feels like you're really there, present, attentive, accepting, she starts to unfold. She starts to show you sides of her that even she may have been afraid to explore. That kind of woman who looks up at you with zero shame, who takes her time, who enjoys the moment as much as you do, she doesn't just appear out of nowhere. She's unlocked by the kind of man you are when sex isn't happening. Because the truth is, the version of her you see in that moment is often a mirror of how you've made her feel outside the bedroom. Have you listened to her without interrupting? Have you protected her emotions like you protect your own ego? Have you made her feel beautiful on the days she didn't? Because those things, they build her inner security. They tell her it's okay to let go. They tell her she doesn't need to guard herself so that she can explore her sensuality without fearing your reaction. There's something so powerful about a woman who feels emotionally safe. She becomes magnetic. She becomes fearless. And when she brings that energy into an intimate moment like this one, everything shifts. It stops being an act and starts being an experience. Something you both share, not because she's trying to please you, but because she's excited to connect with you in that way, because she trusts that this space, your space, not performative, not transactional, real. But here's where most men mess it up. They think that just because a woman says yes, that means she's all in, that her confidence is a given. But women can tell when the energy isn't right, when your attention isn't on her, but on what you're getting, when your praise is conditional, when you only compliment her when she looks a certain way or behaves a certain way. That kind of energy makes her shrink. It makes her doubt herself. It pulls her away from the confident, sensual side of herself that only flourishes in a space of trust. So when a woman takes you into her mouth and she's doing it with ease, with presence, with passion, that's not just her catering to you, that's her feeling at home in her body. And that's rare. That's precious. Because most women have spent years being told their bodies are only valuable through someone else's eyes, that their desires should be suppressed, that their expression is too much. So when she shows up to you without apology, you better understand what you're witnessing. You're witnessing the results of an emotional environment that you helped build. You're witnessing her liberation, not just her submission. And if you really want to keep experiencing that version of her, the soft, open, uninhibited version, you've got to keep nurturing the part of her that trusts you enough to be that way. That means emotional consistency. That means not just showing up when you want something, but being steady when she needs. That means listening deeper than her words. Listening to her energy, her silences, her hesitations. Because in the end, what she gives you in that moment says more about how you've made her feel than anything you could ever say about your own performance. So before you take pride in what she's doing, ask yourself, what have I done to make her feel like she can do this? Like she wants to, like she's free to. That's what separates a boy chasing pleasure from a man who understands connection. There's something few people talk about when it comes to intimacy, especially in moments as raw and exposed as when a woman takes your P3N1S in her mouth. That moment isn't just physical. It's not just about pleasure or technique. It's a spiritual bridge, a deep, invisible exchange of energy. And when you understand it at that level, you stop seeing it as just sexual act and begin to realize it's a doorway into something far more profound, something that most people, sadly, never touch because they stay stuck on the surface. When two people engage in something so intimate, they're not just exchanging touch. They're exchanging energy, emotions, even unspoken truths. Her body is involved, yes, but her spirit is speaking. Her intuition is alive. And if you're attuned, really grounded in that moment, you can feel it. You can sense when she's fully there with you, when she's opening herself, not just physically, but emotionally. You'll feel it in her pace, in her breath, in the way she looks at you without needing to say a word. But the other side of this is just as real. You can also feel when she's disconnected, when she's going through the motions, when her touch is present but her energy is absent. And in that moment, the act becomes hollow. It becomes a scene, not a connection. Because without energy, without emotion, sex is just friction. It's empty. It's two bodies performing, not two souls communicating. Now here's what most men never consider. Your energy in that moment, it matters just as much as hers. If you're tense, if you're distracted, if you're only focused on yourself, on how it feels or how long it lasts or how quickly it gets you off, you rob the experience of its magic. You create a shallow interaction when a deeper connection was possible. And whether she says it or not, she feels that. A woman is incredibly intuitive. She knows when you're present and when you're just taking. She knows when you're honoring the moment and when you're using it. True intimacy happens when both people bring their full selves into the space, and in that moment, when she gives you that kind of vulnerability, when she chooses to pleasure you with no mask, no shame, no filter, it's not about power, it's about presence. It's about being so grounded, so in tune with her energy that you become still inside. You become focused on her as much as she's focused on you. That's the kind of energy that creates real connection. That's what makes her want to come back, not just to the act, but to you. And here's where it gets even deeper, because energy doesn't lie. You can't fake connection. You can't pretend to care and expect her to fully surrender. Her body may respond, but her spirit won't open. And this is why so many men experience a disconnect. They think something's wrong with her libido or with her enthusiasm, when really she's just reacting to the space you've created. If it feels emotionally cold, rushed, or ego-driven, she'll never fully show up, because her body needs to trust that your energy is stable, warm, and safe before she can give herself to you without reservation. This kind of energy exchange also has lasting effects. Ever noticed how some encounters leave you feeling lighter, more connected, more alive, while others leave you feeling drained or even numb? That's not random. That's the unseen impact of the energy you and your partner brought into that space. If it was rooted in mutual respect, care, and deep presence, it fills you up. If it was rooted in neediness, detachment, or self-centeredness, it pulls from you. It takes without giving. So when a woman kneels before you, when she lowers herself to give you that part of her, what are you bringing into that space? Is your energy calm, attentive, affirming, or is it distracted, demanding, entitled? Because your energy doesn't just shape the moment, it shapes her. It shapes how safe she feels, how open she becomes, how deeply she trusts you with her body and her soul. And trust me, when she feels that your energy is right, she'll give you all of her. Not just her lips, not just her hands, but her essence, her emotion, her softness and fire, all wrapped into one sacred, powerful act. Because now she's not performing, she's communing. And what you experience in that space will go far beyond pleasure. It will be unforgettable. So before you focus on what she's doing, ask yourself, what am I giving in this moment? What am I creating with my presence? Because when your energy meets hers in alignment, the act becomes more than sex. It becomes a healing, a memory, a bond, a spiritual exchange that neither of you will ever forget. When a woman takes your P3N1S in her mouth, there's a truth many men overlook. It's not just about the physical act. It's about the choice, her choice. Because in that moment, no matter how long you've been together, no matter how intense the chemistry is, or how deep the connection runs, she is making a decision, a conscious, vulnerable, deeply human decision to open herself to you, not just with her body, but with her trust. And that choice holds a kind of power most men don't even recognize. It's easy to confuse desire with duty, especially in today's world where so many sexual acts get reduced to performance or expectation. But when a woman chooses to engage with you in that way, not because she feels obligated, not because you asked or expected it, but because she wants to, that's not something to take lightly. That's not just routine. That's not just a favor. That is trust in its rawest, most unspoken form. She is saying, I trust you enough to be in this moment with you, without shame, without fear, without holding back. And let's be honest, trust like that isn't easy, especially for women who have lived through rejection, judgment, manipulation, or past experiences where their sexuality was weaponized or dismissed. So when she gives you that part of herself, it's not because she's trying to prove something, it's because she feels something, and more importantly, she feels safe enough to act on it. You have to understand what it takes for a woman to feel safe enough to be that intimate with you. Not just physically safe, but emotionally safe. Safe to be raw, safe to not be perfect, safe to be messy, passionate, slow, wild, playful, all of it. Safe to trust that you won't judge her, won't ridicule her, won't reduce her to that one moment. Because for many women, that act has layers. It's personal. It's not just about you, it's about both of you. That's why how you respond to her matters just as much as what she does. If you treat that moment like something you're entitled to, something you expect, something you don't even take time to appreciate, you're not just damaging the moment, you're damaging the trust. You're sending the message that her choice didn't matter, that it wasn't sacred, that it was just a stepping stone to your pleasure, and not a gift she chose to give. But if you respond with presence, with appreciation, with gentleness, with respect, then you're not just receiving pleasure, you're receiving her. You're letting her know her choice was seen, that her vulnerability was not wasted, that her desire wasn't one-sided. And that is what builds a connection so much deeper than lust. That is what creates intimacy that lingers long after the moment is over. People, because she may not say it out loud, but women remember how they felt in those moments. They remember whether their offering was cherished or taken for granted. They remember whether their bodies were honored or simply